And welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Have a great news you can use segment that's coming up here for Amazon Live, but we're glad to be able to bring all of you guys in, whether you're tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, as well as our friends that are going to be joining us here in a bit on Amazon Live. I appreciate you all being with us as well. You see on screen with me Dr. Matthew Michaels. We're also going to have some other guests that are joining us today talking about a product you've heard us discussing, and now I have myself, that is Panoxol. If y'all are just now finding out about it, we're going to get more into who should be taking it, what you could take it for, what it may assist you with, and what you might can expect when you begin the product as well. Before we get started, Dr. Michael's going to go ahead and make sure all of our connections are good on the social media sites, and then we're going to go ahead and connect with Amazon Live.
Fantastic.
You're listening to Conversations Live. I'm speaking with legend now, Rod.
Okay, let's see. It will look good there. Going to go ahead and make that public. That's good. And there, good. I'll get there. All right. And you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. Glad you all could join us once again. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. As part of our News You Can Use segment here on Amazon Live, you've seen us talking about a product on this program called Panoxol. I actually have mine here. For the past 2 weeks, I now have been taking it. And we've been talking with some trusted physicians and as well as other users of the product about what it's for, who might be the best to be able to take it, what you can expect from it, and of course, the benefits that can be for us individually. Joining us right now, we have Dr. Matthew Michaels. We're going to talk to some other guests as well a little bit later, and we invite your questions too. Hello to you, Amazon customer. I appreciate you following us there on the Amazon Live side. I do want to say, if you are joining us on Amazon Live and you are not following us already, make sure you guys do give us a follow. You'll notice the follow button is below us. Also, you will notice the product Panoxol Plus. That's what I bought here on Amazon. We have it highlighted now. You can see now the product is there. If you have any questions about Panoxol as we're going throughout the conversation today, definitely invite you guys to be able to share those. But Dr. Michaels, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure, Cyrus. Thank you for having me on.
Glad to do it. As I mentioned, we have some other guests that's going to be tuning in as well. There is Dr. Runny.
Dr. Runny with us too, and Dr. Runny.
You got to turn yourself on.
Okay, let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dr. Runny, it feels like you're
It's echo. It's an echo there.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just
Your volume, I think it is the volume.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
so
A lot of feedback.
A lot of feedback?
Yeah, still getting feedback there.
Yeah.
Then maybe I
Yeah.
can turn off
You may
my
want to.
I'll turn off my phone.
You may want to.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
I'll turn off my phone and turn back on.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, we're going
to try to bring Dr.
in with us. Dr. Michaels, I want to begin with you, though, as we're kind of talking about Panoxol. We've had these great conversations about the product, and I wanted to ask you, what has it been like for you to be able to see some of the questions that have been coming in about the product, as well as conversations you've been having about Panoxol and the benefits of it?
Well, certainly it's been a very good thing. The fact is that when I was first introduced to this product about a year ago, I had some idea of what the various products within it could do. And again, not products, but ingredients. But I really didn't have a solid sense of what this particular combination could do because I was not familiar with this product that was patented back in 2015. It is a very significant thing to note that this is a patented nutraceutical, and that's really not a very common thing. But as time has gone by, as I've been using it, what I have noticed very clearly, and it's important to recognize that we're not telling you that the product is guaranteed to do anything for you, because we're absolutely not saying that this product is designed to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, because it is not. But what it is designed to do is provide a specific combination of botanical ingredients that have been proven on their own individual items to do certain things. So in that regard, the sum total of the effect of this product is really much more than the sum of its ingredients. So you had mentioned earlier the general sensation of having more energy, and that's one of the things that we get from the vast majority of people, is not some kind of sense of being high or really feeling like things are like you got a drug in your system that's giving you more energy, but just that you have more energy. It's a very subtle effect, but also very meaningful at the same time. Is that pretty much what you've noticed?
Exactly. And I want to let our audience know, Dr. Michaels, for myself personally, when I was first told about Panoxol, I was intrigued by it because I do have individuals in my family that have a lot of the issues that I've heard you all discussing, and I've heard other people in other videos discussing. And I myself personally, I'm not on any prescription medication. I do my yearly checkups, and it hasn't been something that's been an issue with me when it comes to issues with blood sugar or high blood pressure, anything like that. So, but I am always mindful, of course, because as I get older, knowing, that, I have to be mindful of the things that I'm putting in my body as well as taking care of my body. So I was interested in Panoxol for that reason as to what I might notice for myself. And I've been taking it now for 2 weeks. And I mentioned to you also, Dr. Michaels, that I was going to be sharing with you guys some other things I have personally noticed, even in that short amount of time. One, the subtle energy that you mentioned definitely not like I'm a coffee drinker myself, Dr. Michaels. I have 2 cups every morning. It's not like drinking coffee for me in the morning. It's not like that. But you definitely feel that little extra push. I know I have in the last couple of weeks. But one thing I have noticed, as far as because I have had people ask me, about have you noticed anything with appetite? I didn't mention this to you. That I have noticed that it does seem like I'm able to get more full quicker. And I don't know if that's something that you've heard from other people as well. The other thing though has been because one thing that it does recommend on the bottle is about making sure you're drinking water. And I have noticed, even though I was drinking water before, definitely going to the restroom, urinating more. I've noticed that too. So, Dr. Michael, as you mentioned a couple things. I think we have Dr. Runny in as well. I'm going to try to bring her back in. But are those what I've been mentioning that I've noticed in the 2 weeks? Is that kind of typical of you've heard from some of those who are products?
Well, yes, the energy thing for absolutely certain, and Dr. Ronnie will chime in on that, I'm sure, giving very specific examples in her patients. One thing we absolutely hear a lot of is an effect on appetite, and that is the cayenne, more than likely that's doing that.
Okay.
In changing the way the body responds to leptin, which is a hormone that regulates hunger. So it downregulates your hunger response so that you just have less hunger in general, but also upregulates your metabolism and your insulin responsiveness. And part of the problem with weight gain for most of us is a lack of response to insulin. So we end up with this hyperglycemia effect, and really it contributes massively to weight gain. So pretty commonly for me specifically, what I have noticed is that rather than over the course of the last number of years that I've been alive, number of decades, where I would struggle with slowly gaining weight, having to bring it back down. Every year there was a cycle of 10 pounds up and down. I've just noticed that since I've been taking Panoxol, it's a little bit less of a struggle to keep my weight where I want it to be. And so that, once again, is going to be a very subtle combination of a variety of things, a little bit less hunger, a little bit more rapid response to the food that we eat so you feel more full more rapidly, but then also a higher energy burning state and a better responsiveness to the insulin that our bodies are producing.
Exactly.
Dr. Runny, I'm going to try to bring you back in.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
It feels the feedback there, Dr. Runny.
But can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear
We can hear you. There's just a lot of background. A lot of background.
What about now?
my
I'm here on Martha's Vineyard. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I need a headset.
Okay, Dr. Runny, what about now? Can you hear us? Dr. Runny, can you hear us? Okay, it seems like she may have muted herself because I don't hear the sound now. but
Hi, I'm back.
Okay, yeah, it's still the reverb back. Okay.
Hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed.
Just have some sound issues to resolve.
Yeah. Let's see. She's trying to come back in.
Trying to come back in. Let's just see real quick, Dr. Michael.
I go out and come back.
Yeah, it's still. Wait, we have more than mic open?
No, I have no mic around me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's definitely getting some feedback in there.
Well, I'm gonna hang up and call again.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
So, Dr. Michael, to pick up with the point that we were talking about, what I think is so interesting, though, and I love the fact I want to get into what's actually printed on the bottle, which really impressed me a lot about the instructions there. But is your big hope as people are finding out about Panoxol that they realize, for one, that it really is, the impact is individual, for one, that what happens for one person, they should not necessarily expect will happen for them, but two, to make sure that they are mindful of that as they are taking the product, as to what their expectations are from getting from it.
Well, yeah, in specific when it relates to blood pressure, because this is really such an important issue.
Okay.
And we note that Panoxol, the ingredients in Panoxol may contribute to a more healthy blood pressure. But the fact is that we don't have evidence of that. We don't have solid proof of that. We have anecdotal evidence from me. I know it has a major impact on my blood pressure immediately. We hear that report all the time. But the fact is, it may not do that for everybody. And so what we all need to do, and I really believe this, what every single human being needs to do is monitor their own blood pressure. I just admitted a guy to the hospital just a couple of weeks ago, 35 years old, had a brain hemorrhage because of high blood pressure. He knew he had high blood pressure. He didn't really take it seriously, didn't do what he needed to do to manage it, had the symptoms of a stroke, went to the hospital. His blood pressure was through the roof. They had to bring it back down and control it, and it's controlled now. But the fact is, he's already had the stroke. He's likely to recover a lot of what he lost, but that's just because of high blood pressure. And the fact is that people think that they're going to know they have high blood pressure because they're going to feel like, I'm going to have a headache or blurred vision or something, but you will not. You simply will not know that your blood pressure is that high unless you check it. And so every single person listening to this broadcast needs to get a blood pressure cuff. They're not very expensive. You can get an automatic one for under $30 that you can pull up onto your arm. There's various instructions as far as how to actually take your own blood pressure, meaning sitting still, being calm, not crossing your legs, making sure that your arms are resting at the level of your heart, and check your blood pressure regularly. And I am virtually certain that a certain percentage of the people who are listening to us right now have extremely high blood pressure that is actually dangerous at this moment. One of the problems is we know that in general, most of the high blood pressure that we see is not dramatically high. It's not 170 over 110 where you're at risk for consequences right now. It's going to be more in the neighborhood of 150 over 95, which is still too high. It's causing damage, but it's causing damage over time, not at this instant. You know, the damage that you might be experiencing this instant to your kidneys or your eyes or your brain or your heart is going to be very subtle. It's going to take years for that to develop into something more problematic, but it still will develop into something problematic. If you're not controlling your blood pressure and the magic number is 110 over 70, hashtag 110 over 70, that's where we want you to be. Now, it may well be that for a lot of people, they'll get there with Panoxol alone, but not necessarily. And so my message primarily is get your blood pressure under control. Panoxol may or may not be a tool that you use to get there. And if you're using Panoxol and you're not getting there, talk to your doctor, get on another medicine, get the blood pressure under control is really the answer. And again, with or without Panoxol, it doesn't really matter. Now, once the blood pressure is under control, Panoxol is going to contribute to a host of other potential benefits. Again, Panoxol is not designed to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, but these ingredients like ginkgo biloba can promote better blood flow to the brain, can promote better cognition and memory, potentially improve your function cerebrally. Horse chestnut can help control any leg swelling that you might have. Red yeast rice can reduce inflammation and help you get to a better balance of your cholesterol. All of these things matter. It's an important process to recognize that the way you eat in general is going to be the primary factor that impacts your health down the road. If you're eating processed foods, you're going to get in trouble. It's going to cause problems. If you're eating sugar regularly, it's going to cause problems. If you're eating a very high red meat, high animal fat diet, it's eventually going to cause problems. we recommend that you just do your best to get as much of your nutrition from plants as you possibly can. And Panoxol kind of fits that bill in that a lot of these are plants that you may not eat in your diet, but nevertheless, they're plants with potential benefits for human beings that we have then combined into this very specific patented combination that has very unique synergistic effects.
Dr. Michaels, you mentioned a couple of things that really intrigued me. I want to get into because I'm sure it's new to me and it may be new to some of our other audience. I want to say, first of all, we're going to try to bring Dr. Runny back in, but you all are watching Cyrus Represents, part of our news you can use here on Amazon Live, as well as, of course, through our other broadcasts. Today, we're joined by Dr. Matthew Michaels, also Dr. Runny is with us too. We're going to try to bring her back in, but we're talking about the product you guys see highlighted on Amazon Live, and that is Panoxol. I've been taking it myself for the past couple of weeks now. I was sharing earlier some of the things I have already personally noticed, but Dr. Michaels has shared some valuable information. Dr. Michaels, I'm going to try again to bring in Dr. Runny, but then I want to follow up on some of the things you said there. Let's see. Dr. Runny, can you hear us?
Hello. Can
Hello?
you hear me well?
Hello, much better.
Oh, well, you know, I live on
Oh,
the vineyard.
well,
Okay, now
it's coming back, it seems.
Yeah, I do hear the feedback, and
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know where it's coming from. Is it too loud to talk?
I tell you what I'm
I tell you what I'm going to do.
I'm going to
ask a question
and
then maybe mute myself to see if that helps. So it won't be as much coming through.
Okay,
Okay.
that'll work.
Okay, so let me ask you, Dr. Ronnie, based on what we've been discussing,
Talk to us about
what you've noticed with your patients
when it comes to
when it comes to Panoxol.
So if you're able to hear me, I'm here on Martha's Vineyard and sometimes there's bad connection. But one of the things that I can tell you, I've been running retreats for years. And I find that there's a big, huge difference. The first, I want to let you know that I'm up to 4. And sometimes I'll do more than that. And I find a tremendous difference in the way I feel also. One of the things that I have noticed about myself is that I can literally run. My office is on the 3rd floor. I hide myself up there for a reason. I literally would forget something downstairs, run all the way up to the 3rd floor and get it, run all the way back down, and I'm not tired. For me, and I talk about it all the time, that is a tremendous difference in how I feel. But also, I notice that my clients are different. They're literally different because they're the same ones that come every summer. And because they marry their vacation with their wellness. And as a functional medicine doctor, I'll go online with them and I'll Zoom with them when they're at home. I find that I'm not asking them to go for a walk. They're literally at the door waiting to go for a walk. That's how different they feel with their energy. The other thing that I found, that even with the increased energy, for some reason there's this sense of peace and calmness that they have. When you have better blood flow, one of the things that I've noticed is that you have better digestion and you have better metabolizing your nutrients. So when you get the nutrients into your cellular level, you're able to utilize a better brain focus. You think better. You not only do you think better, but you're making better decisions, and your memory is not as bad. One of the things that happens with better blood flow comes better nutrition because we're utilizing it better. And I think that the brain flow just focus is so much better. Now, cellular tissues, when we put nutrients at a high level into our tissues, one of the things that we have to understand is that we may not think that that we don't want cosmetic, but we find that our skin looks better, our hair looks better, and our nails grow tremendously fast. That's all because of good oxygenation and blood flow. I can't stop talking about that because I see it every day at the retreat. It's not like I'm reading a book. I'm actually observing these things, and it's phenomenal. It's really just profound what we're seeing here. So, I don't want to say that every single person is going to decrease their blood pressure and decrease the symptoms of their cardiac function. I'm just telling you what they're telling me, and they're telling me when they wake up, because at the retreat we teach people how to, with the oximeter, we tell people to put the oximeter on their finger, and we say look at your oxygen flow. When we say look at your heart rate, and I'll teach them, I'll say let's learn how to take your blood pressure. So these are things that we're actually seeing happening here. And so it's just exciting to see that happen. So if anyone ever asks me why I look and feel the way I look and feel today, I just have to say I feel great because I have good blood flow. I have good oxygenation, and the nutrients that I take every day is going where it's supposed to go.
Dr. Michaels, and also Dr. Ronnie, I want to ask you both about something that is on the actual bottle of the product Panoxol that really impressed me, because I think we all have heard about the importance of knowledge being power, and the makers of Panoxol are really pushing that, even saying to Google the products that are in Panoxol. But Dr. Michaels, you said something, and Dr. Ronnie actually alluded to it too, about blood pressure. I have to say something, and I'm just being transparent myself, because it's the truth, and I'm sure other people, if they're honest, I don't check my blood pressure every day, and I'm curious, is that something that you typically tell people, Dr. Answer, and then Dr. Ronnie, ask you, is that something that all of us should be doing every day? Is checking our blood pressure?
Well, not necessarily every day. Okay. So the
Okay,
fact is that first and foremost, you should own a blood pressure cuff. You
okay,
should know your blood pressure right now if you've never checked it before. Okay. Because the fact is, if you know your blood pressure is well controlled, if you know that for whatever reason, genetically or because of your lifestyle, your blood pressure today is 110 over 70, then you probably don't need to check it tomorrow. But you don't want to wait until next year to check it either. You
mm,
want to check it regularly so that you have a good feeling for every day until it's under control. With Panoxol or without Panoxol, get it under control. That's the key. We can save lives here. That's a very, very important thing to know. We all want you to take Panoxol because we think it's a fabulous product with a host of other benefits. But
right.
when it comes to blood pressure, the point is just control it, period. And so, anybody out there who has never checked their own blood pressure, please buy a blood pressure cuff and check it now. As soon as you can get that thing in your house, take it, understand it, read about the ingredients in Panoxol. If your blood pressure is subtly high, you can probably safely just start off with Panoxol to see what it's going to do for you. But if you come home and say your blood pressure is 170 over 110, please don't just take Panoxol. Go see a doctor, get it under control right away, because that blood pressure can literally kill you. I see patients all the time who are in their 30s and 40s who are on dialysis because of high blood pressure. People who have had strokes at a young age because of high blood pressure. This is not rare. It's extremely common. And so the answer is yes, you need to check your blood pressure if you've never checked it before. Once it's well under control, checking it every day, maybe not, but checking it regularly so that you know it's staying under control. And because things will change as you get older, you may get to the point where your blood pressure was 110 over 70 on Panoxol plus some other pharmaceutical to keep it where it needs to be if you need that. And then a year later, it's creeping up again. And your doctor may need to adjust what you're taking so that we keep it at that 110 over 70 level. That's really where we want to be. And so that's where I would go with it.
Okay. And Dr. Ronnie, you mentioned talking to those that you're working with there. How important has that been for you to share that message about knowing what your blood pressure is, and make sure that you are monitoring your blood pressure?
Your blood pressure.
Yes, it's very important, and I know, Dr. Michaels, we know that there's 80 million people now have the four highs, either high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high sugar, and high weight. And that's literally what I'm dealing with. And when I'm doing my webinars and I'm doing my private consultations, one of the things that I'm constantly telling them is that we have to know who you are. If I'm going to consult with you, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is your blood pressure? What is your heart rate? These are things we have to know now. And now we're asking people, what's your oxygenation? You know, we're dealing in this world where there's a lot of bacteria, viruses, and chronic illness. We just went through something horrific. I never thought I would ask patients at home to tell me what their oxygenation is. I'm now teaching them to test that. It is most important to test your blood pressure, if not on a weekly basis, if you have an unstable blood pressure, at least every few days, so that when you're running into trouble, we can ask you what it is and we can help you a lot faster. Some people will call me up and they'll just say, I feel weak. Well, what does that mean? You feel weak. What's your blood pressure? Test your blood pressure. It's very, very important. Have you been drinking water today? Tell me what you've been doing today while you feel weak. Feed us information so that we can help you quicker. And I think that we're getting somewhere with functional medicine now, but I think that we all have to be on board with giving out the same message to our clients and our patients that are sitting at home expecting for the doctor to take care of them. It's not going to happen. You have to be proactive. And I think that with Panoxol, with supplements and vitamins and minerals, we can give you the best of the best, but we have to know who you are.
I want to address a question that came in through Twitter. Dr. Michaels and I were talking about earlier that one of the things that's happening since we've been doing these broadcasts is we do have new people that joined us, as well as others who have seen us before. One of the questions coming in on Twitter is that they're actually watching us over there. We appreciate that. Is who should be taking Panoxol? So I want to address that question because Dr. Michaels, again, we do have people who are just discovering this broadcast. If they're customers on Amazon, they may have just came across it because if they were on there searching for supplements or something, may have came across the live show there, which we appreciate as well. But for those who are just now finding out, Dr. Michaels, who is would you say the perfect person to be taking, based on what we've been discussing here, to be taking Panoxol Plus?
Honestly, I would say that Panoxol has potential benefits for just about anybody. For me, I am a dedicated athlete. I'm an Ironman. I've done more triathlons than I can remember. I work out on a very regular basis, and I tend to work out on a very high level. I am a big fan of P90X workouts, and so the idea there is they're intense. What I have noticed specifically in that specific vein is the nitric oxide effect that you get from Panoxol is pretty profound. For me, it has been. I notice that in the morning when I'm getting up and I know I need to get a workout in before my wife and I go on and do other things for that day. There are days before I was using this product that I found that, I just was having a little trouble getting to the point where I really needed to get into my gym and just get the workout started. What I notice now is when I actually drink the shake that I drink in the morning, along with a couple of Panoxol in there, that as soon as I'm done with that, I am ready to roll. It's just absolutely happening now. I've noticed that my performance on a platform called Zwift, which is a virtual cycling platform, my wattage output has increased significantly with Panoxol. I noticed that I recover faster with Panoxol as well. And so that athletic impact of nitric oxide, and that's not a mystery. We know that nitric oxide has a very significant effect on athletic performance and recovery. Once again, Dr. Ronnie, because of blood flow, without a doubt. Better blood flow to the muscle means better performance from the muscle. Better blood flow to the muscle after workout means better recovery because you heal faster, because you're delivering what the muscle needs to recover. And so from there, there's also the potential impact of ginkgo biloba. And you can really, please do look online, look at the ingredients and Google every single one of them. Read about ginkgo and what it can do for you. Read about cayenne and what it can do for you. Read about red yeast rice and what it can do for your body. Horse chestnut seed extract and what it can do. And then, of course, arginine and citrulline, two amino acids that are very important in the nitric oxide cycle. Once you read about each one of these individual ingredients, you're going to think, well, why haven't I been taking these for decades now? And once you understand that each one of them is very valuable, what you might think is, well, I need to go out and get every single one of these and just start taking them. That's going to be a very expensive process, and also taking 6 capsules all at once might not be the best thing to do, because you might end up with a total dosing above what you really need. And the idea behind Panoxol is it is a patented combination of these specific ingredients, where you're going to take the one product as you see fit and how it works for you, For me, I take 2 in the morning and 1 in the evening. That's my regimen. But this way, you don't have to go out and buy each one of those because they're already there, and we've already seen the value that they have from our study at the villages in Florida that showed that Panoxol can be a very potent tool in controlling blood pressure.
Appreciate that. And I'm glad you mentioned about the dosage because one of the things, again, and that's one of the things that is mentioned actually on the bottle is, that you can pretty much do it as, the regimen that works for you. I personally have been taking 1 in the morning, 1 at night. That's been what I've been doing. However, I want to explain why, because I'm a big baby. I have a very low tolerance for anything. I can even take Tylenol. Everything knocks me out, and everything normally when it comes to any kind of medication, I just err on the side of caution. I said until I figure out, how I'm going to be feeling, I've just been taking the 1 in the morning and what at night. Dr. Ronnie, you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Michael.
Just very quickly, that is not being a baby. That's not being a wimp. That's knowing your own body, knowing that you tend to respond very quickly to whatever you're taking, whether it be with side effects or with effects. So being cautious and building up slowly is a very wise thing to do, I would say.
Is there, to stay on that point then, Dr. Michaels, will I know if I need to increase or what do you normally tell people who may be starting off the way I'm starting off with just basically 2 a day? What would be a sign that I could try to increase?
Well, if you're tolerating it beautifully, if your blood pressure is well controlled on 2 a day and you feel like it's giving you the boost that you want to see, you can stick with that dose. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
If you feel like your blood pressure is a little bit on the high side, when you take Panoxol, it's coming down, but it's not quite down low enough. If you can get it down to 120/80, which used to be the threshold, the standard for what blood pressure should be, we know now from a study done in, I think, roughly 2013, is that 110/70 is a better number. But if you're down there already on 2 a day, there's really not a whole lot of reason to go higher unless you feel like you love the energy boost that you're getting from it and you want to get more. So then there are going to be limitations where we don't recommend that you take more than 6 a day because there can be significant issues potentially with the ginkgo and blood thinning, especially if you're on other blood thinners. But again, if you're on other blood thinners and you want to take ginkgo biloba or the ginkgo in our product, just check with your doctor before you take it. Make sure that you go through those steps and be responsible at what you're taking because your primary care doctor really does need to know everything that you're on, including all the botanical remedies and the nutraceuticals or dietary supplements like Panoxol.
Appreciate that. Dr. Ronnie, I have 2 questions for you, if you don't mind. One is about the amount, what you've been telling as far as those that you're working with. I know you mentioned that you're taking 4, but also you mentioned water. That's another thing that is literally printed on the bottle. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Talk to us about, for one, how you've been able to gauge how many to take, and also, 2, about the importance of staying hydrated in the process.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things, first of all, it took me a very long time to get to 4, and I did exactly what you did. I tried it, and and Dr. Michael's interesting. You said if you want more energy, that's exactly what happened to me because I work long hours. I work sometimes 15 hours a day. And I found myself in the afternoon going through this slump. And so I would take 2 more. And basically, I just feel great all the way up to the time that I go to bed. And this was very interesting that happened to me. I don't have insomnia. I do not have a sleep problem at all. I have a behavior problem. I don't like to go to bed and I don't like to sleep. I love working and I have so much to do. But I found when I went to bed, I went right to sleep. So the energy, I didn't have too much energy where it kept me up. I felt like the energy that I took the 2 more in the afternoon got me all the way to the time it was time for me to go to bed. Now, the other interesting thing is that I don't specialize in pediatric, but I am taking care of a few teenagers. And one of the teenagers that I've been taking care of for the last, I would say 6 or 7 months, he lost over 50 pounds. But I found that even at 15 years old, and I work very closely with his medical doctor, his primary care doctor, at 15 years old, he's up to 4. But that was because he had so much. He had the 4 highs that I specialize in. And that for me that was very sad. So we have a lot of support in working with this young boy. But I found that with 4, he'll take the neighbor's dog and go for a walk, and he's never ever walked before. I had his mother and father in tears because they told me he will never walk. They said all he does is work on a computer. So we proved that wrong, but it wasn't his fault. It's that when you're toxic and you're overweight and you have no energy, you don't want to walk. And I think that was the most profound thing that happened in the years that I've been doing this work, was allowing this young boy at 15 years old get off the couch, grab the dog, and go for long walks. And also, I do a walk and talk program. It's called Walk and Talk with Dr. Ronnie. I'll just get up and just go walk, and people will join me. And I'll find that that coming back to the retreat, I'm not tired. So as far as the water is concerned, you know that water is also promotes oxygenation. So the water also helps you to metabolize the panoxol, and at the same time, it converts food to energy. So we have all of that going for us when it comes to panoxol. So it all supports the entire metabolism of the body, and that's why you see so many different signs and symptoms of feeling healthier and livelier.
I want to say once again, for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents. This is part of our News You Can Use segment here on Amazon Live. I'm joined today by Dr. Matthew Michaels and Dr. Ronnie. We're talking about the benefits of this product here. We have it highlighted here on the carousel on Amazon Live. It's Panoxol Plus. I've been taking it now myself for 2 weeks. I've been sharing some of my own thoughts about it, what I've noticed in my own body, and talking about some of those with the doctors who or the professionals here. If you all have any questions, feel free to let them post them in the comment section. I appreciate you guys watching us on Twitter. We just started broadcasting on Twitter last broadcast with the doctor, so I appreciate you guys engaging with us over there. Also, those tuning in on Amazon Live, you all have any questions there, let me know. I see you guys also over there on YouTube. If you guys have any questions there, feel free to let me know too. Dr. Michaels, I think something else that you mentioned, and again, I think all of these conversations are so timely because there's so many things people are dealing with, especially when we're in, this time of the year. Now we're looking at cold and flu season, so people are thinking about that. For yourself, as you said, it's something that you believe everyone can take. Talk to us then about for yourself, because you mentioned earlier about being active. Why was it something you felt like was needed for yourself personally?
Well, bottom line there is we all have been struggling with a lot of stress and anxiety for the last couple of years. The COVID-19 era has not been an easy one. And we're all getting older, right? That's pretty much a universal standard. We're all getting older. And as you get older, you tend to have a little bit less energy. And I did notice that before I started taking this product, like most people, I would come home from a long day at work. All I really wanted to do is have dinner, sit down, chill out, read or watch TV. And then I was pretty much out for the night. I didn't expect this to happen again, but once I started taking Panoxol, it was, again, very subtle. I just noticed that I was much more interested in maybe getting some chores done after dinner, actually going into the garage and getting something done, or going for a long walk with my wife and the dogs. Whereas before I might have said, no, I'm too tired tonight. Let's just chill out, and the dogs have had enough activities for today. That definitely changed with Panoxol, without a doubt. And again, this is not something that I expected from all that I had read about these individual ingredients, but it's might be one of those single most universal effects that people tell us about when they're taking Panoxol, is this impact on energy in general.
And I think too, the reason why I keep coming back to that, because one of the things I'm noticing, and again, we're getting more engagement on Twitter this week than we had the last time we were on, and I appreciate that real time connection, because you did mention, of course, the consultation with the doctor. Is that something that you believe is just across the board? If you're going to be taking anything, whether it's Panoxol Plus or anything else we're discussing, that's important to have that conversation before doing so with your doctor?
If you are perfectly healthy and you don't have any other health issues, we believe that Panoxol will most likely be safe for you. Of course, there are no universal truths in that regard. People have allergies that they didn't know of before. It is possible that you might be allergic to one of the ingredients in Panoxol, not out of the question. And so once you take anything new, be aware that you've put something new in your body. Pay attention to your symptoms. If you begin to have anything obvious like an allergic reaction begin to develop, take steps. Again, I don't want to oversell this, because that can happen with any new food that you eat, any new drink that you might consume. But nevertheless, when you're putting something new in your body, just be aware that it's new and you might have a reaction to it of some sort. So let's not overplay that. But bottom line there is that if you are perfectly healthy, I don't really see any reason not to once again start off slow, get a bottle, take a pill, see what it does to you. Now, a lot of people will say that when they first start taking, this happened to me actually, is when I first started taking it, the first thing I noticed is my stool changed and got looser and my bowels were a little bit cranky, a little bit irritated. And more than likely that was the cayenne. The same thing might happen if you have a very spicy meal. You know, people say that any kind of really spicy meal hits twice, and typically that's the cayenne or capsaicin in any one of the spicy peppers that they're taking. Typically, your body will over time adapt to that. Mine did. It took about 2 weeks. I dropped down from 2 to 3 a day down to 1 a day. At 1 a day, I still had a little bit of symptom, but after a couple, 3 days, that went away. Then I started building back up. And the fact is that when people think about or hear about this potential side effect, they say, well, is cayenne going to irritate my stomach and cause problems with my stomach or with my intestines? The fact is that in reality, capsaicin and cayenne, all the various ingredients in that natural plant products have been shown to be gastroprotective. And part of the reason for that may be that there's a specific bacteria that can colonize the lining of our gut called Helicobacter pylori that tends to be the primary cause of ulcers. Cayenne can be antibacterial in that regard, and so the research has shown that if anything, using cayenne as a nutraceutical supplement in Panoxol or otherwise tends to reduce the incidence of ulcers, not increase it.
Love that. So one more question then to Dr. Ronnie on this level when it comes to this. I mean, I'm sure that with those that you're seeing, Dr. Ronnie, the question becomes too about side effects. I mentioned earlier about the thing I noticed, quite honestly, in the 2 weeks already, is more urination. I didn't notice anything as for, as anything else for myself. Is that one of the things that you're hearing, Dr. Ronnie, that people are curious as to what it may do for them, what side effect they should expect?
Well, see, you had more urination because you had excess water. I find that when you have more urination, that the Panoxol is actually helping your circulation, and that's a good thing. I've had some of my clients who had edema around the ankles, or maybe a little bit swollen in their legs, or something like that. The water went out of their ankles, so they had less fluid, so they also had increase in urination. I also had someone said to me that they had itchiness as she was walking. She would walk and her thighs would itch, and then I found out that was just increase in circulation as well. This lady having walked in so long, you get these people walking, and of course their skin may itch a little bit, and that's just the natural blood flow flowing through with the cayenne pepper. They feel it, and I thought that was interesting, but it went away after about a week. And then I had someone, well, this is not a side effect, but I just thought this was kind of funny. She says, I just feel really happy. She says, you think that's the Panoxol? And I go, in what way do you feel happy? She says, never before in my life I've been looking forward to walking. She says, I just feel so happy. And so I said, that's oxygen. It's oxygen. So yeah, you may have these little signs, but they'll go away. And also, Dr. Michaels mentioned an excess in going to the bathroom. Well, it's natural. It's just a part of your metabolism increasing. To me, that's the miracle of Panoxol.
I want to ask the two of you this question, and I'll start with you, Dr. Ronnie, about education, because I have to say, I have learned it's one thing. I mean, I'm a big reader myself. It's one thing to read about a product on Amazon like our audience can do here. But I have to say, I have gotten so much out of these conversations with you all through these discussions we've been having. And now that I'm able to take it myself, hello to Tamika, we see you there on the Amazon, on the Facebook side. Now that I've been taking it myself, it definitely has helped me a lot. Have you found that once people are educated, Dr. Ronnie, and then Dr. Michael, I'll throw it to you, about Panoxol Plus and the benefits, that's one of the things then that kind of helps them to make the decision to take it?
Absolutely. You have to understand that, the world is changing. Dr. Michaels and we do something called functional medicine. And I believe that the aspect of community, the aspect of trust, and being able to educate your patients and your clients is phenomenal, because someone will feel nervous and they can also Google it and still have fear, right? So education and personal education is nothing more than allowing somebody to feel safe. And when you allow your clients and patients to feel safe, you will get the best out of them. So yeah, I think education is you can't do it without education.
And Dr. Michaels, what about for you? What has it been like for you as you've been educating those around you that you've been seeing about the benefits of Panoxol?
Well, one thing that I will say is that most physicians will tell you that the best way to really learn a subject is to teach the subject, is to have to educate yourself to a level that you feel comfortable going in front of other doctors, whether they be student doctors or other attending physicians, and understanding it at a level that you can bring the knowledge to other professionals. That process for me has also been very instructive in really diving deeper into these ingredients, what they can actually do for me, you, and everybody else. But the most important thing in my mind is that every person needs to dive in themselves. We've talked before about my philosophy regarding back pain, and I've been an interventional pain management doc for 25 years. My experience is that when you really begin to understand what drives back pain in terms of movement and behavior, and how back pain then drives bad movements and behaviors, you begin to really understand how to control your own pain. And my philosophy with pain is that same functional process, where I don't want to control your back pain by giving you a pill. I don't want to help control your back pain just by giving you a shot. I believe that we can use things like shots, pills, and therapies, which are passive, in other words, something being done to you, to get you to a point where you can better do things that are active, taking care of yourself. Active interventions are always the best because they're forever. They rely on your own activity and your own knowledge and understanding. That's what my book is about. Take control of your back pain, learn how to stop hurting yourself. That's the subtitle. And it really is the most important part of this as well. When it comes to diet and exercise, learn how to stop hurting yourself. Learn how to stop hurting yourself by eating the wrong things, by eating processed foods, by eating a high red meat diet. I'm not going to tell you to stop eating red meat altogether. I'm not going to tell you to stop eating meat altogether. My recommendation is do your best to study what plants can do and try to get as much of your nutrition as possible from plants. That's a thoughtful process. You can't do that passively. You have to be actively involved in thinking about your food choices, going shopping, making decisions about what you're going to buy. You have that magnificent phone in your pocket. Take it out and Google broccoli. What are the health benefits of eating broccoli? Study it for yourself now. Understand why you should be eating that, why you should be eating spinach and kale, etc. They're not just popular because they're a fad, they're popular because they have potential value for you as an individual. And that really is what it comes down to. The more knowledge you have about yourself and about your diet and about what you're putting in your body, the better you're going to do, and the better you can hopefully stop hurting yourself with what you're putting in your mouth. Dr. Ronnie can speak to that way more effectively than I can, because that is pretty much what she does.
And I want to mention, Dr. Michaels mentioned his book. We have it highlighted there in the carousel on the Amazon Live side. You guys can see it there. Take control of your back pain there. You can see, you can just click there to be able to find out more information about that and to get that for yourself as well. Dr. Ronnie, I will, Dr. Michaels, evoke your name back. So I'm going to bring you back in for this because I think this is an important aspect of this. Again, I've been having you all on the broadcast before I started taking Panoxol Plus myself. I was excited to be able to hear what it could do for myself. And then, of course, being able to use my platform to tell other people about my experience, but also my family who, I do have individuals in my family who are dealing with high blood pressure, dealing with issues, other health issues. So it's good for me to be able to tell them personally about my own experience. That word of mouth, though, Dr. Ronnie, to connect with what Dr. Michael says, how important has that been for you in spreading the word, but also getting people educated?
Well, it's been so interesting, but it's been so, you know, I can get online with 60 people, and I did that last week. And literally, I'll just give them a basic message. And the message is will be, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And when you start with a conversation like that, you got everyone's attention. And I don't care what diagnosis. It could be Lyme disease, post cancer, liver, kidney, it could be anything. But everyone wants to know about how to eat food. They all want to know about how to be their best health. And the way to start with that is you clean up the body, you provide them with good nutrients that help them with their energy, help them with that oxygen, help them with their metabolism, and they will all be on board. So the word of mouth has spread from 60 to 120. And these are people that are just what I call just basic people that live in the food desert, people that don't understand what it means to let food be your medicine. So when you start with the four highs, trying to get them to get their blood pressure down, their cholesterol down, their weight down, their sugar down, that is a message that everyone wants to know. What am I supposed to eat and how? And where do I start? So I think the education is so important. I think you got to start simple, and I think you got to start with them being your partner. Because, like we said earlier, you have to teach them how to do their blood pressure at home. There's no more going to the doctors because they're so busy now that you cannot just show up and say, Doc, I think my blood pressure is high. They're going to say, well, why didn't you take it? So, if that answers the question, I think that we all have to be on board with teaching people how to be healthy at home. And you start with some simple principles of nutrition, supplementation, and movement. And movement starts with oxygen.
Love that. And I
Love
want
that.
to,
And I want
I
to,
want to bring you in on this point too that Dr. Ronnie mentioned because it is also something that is on the bottle here, and that is about the importance of food. Because I think some people think you just take a pill and that's all you have to do. But how important is that marriage together, Dr. Michaels, about yes the benefits of Panoxol Plus, but also realizing the other things you're doing, like what you're eating, when it comes to making sure that you're being healthy.
Well, absolutely, Cyrus. I think it's a very important part of the message that we want to bring to the public is Panoxol is a potent tool as one part of a better lifestyle of really thinking about what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, and how you're consuming it. But also movement, as Dr. Ronnie said. We talk about exercise, but the fact is, for most of us, when they think about exercise per se, they're thinking about the whole notion of if I'm going to exercise, it has to be no pain, no gain. No, don't go down that path unless you know yourself that you love that kind of workout. If you're a weird guy like me who loves to work really hard and feel the pain of a hard workout, fantastic, but that's going to be a very small percentage of the population. You don't need to work that hard. You need to challenge yourself. That's all. You need to do things that are not easy. Not easy doesn't mean very, very hard. It just means something that you're going to get your heart rate up, you're going to breathe a little harder, you're going to get some sweat going. For many of us, that's just going for a half a mile walk. Then do that every day until a half a mile is easy. Then start picking up the pace until you're walking that half a mile faster. And then build over time. Continue to challenge yourself. Whenever what you've been doing becomes easy and it's not challenging anymore, your body is going to begin to stagnate. So looking for other opportunities to challenge yourself. And in all honesty, that doesn't have to be anything that even resembles exercise. It can be ballroom dancing lessons. It can be Tai Chi lessons. Anything and everything that gets your body moving is what you need to do. Again, Panoxol is just one part of that process of learning about food, learning about how what you put in your body matters, both good and bad, learning about movement and how you need to get things moving in a way that challenges you gently, but that very subtle energy increase that you might feel with Panoxol and that we believe you probably will feel with Panoxol can be a very potent tool in that process of just taking that first step out the door, going for your first walk because you feel like, you know what, I don't feel like sitting on the couch this evening. I want to just go move. So you go for a walk. Step number one. Just again, as we said, Panoxol is one ingredient in a healthy lifestyle.
Dr. Michael, since we have you there, I'm going to pose this to you, and then Dr. Ronnie, anything you want to add, feel free. Tamika says, this is so interesting because I'm dealing with being a diabetic and hypertension. Now, I know we've been focusing a lot on blood pressure, but when you hear things like that, Dr. Michael, is that also someone that you believe could benefit from the ingredients of Panoxol Plus?
I would say yes, and I'm sure Dr. Ronnie would agree. The cayenne in particular has been known for centuries to have a positive effect on insulin metabolism and glucose metabolism. So yes, it can have a very significant impact in a positive way. But once again, the vast majority of what drives hypertension and diabetes is lifestyle. It's about what you're eating on a regular basis. It's about what you are doing for activity. If you are a couch potato, keep in mind that the body is in a never-ending state of adaptation. We adapt very easily to what we do on a regular basis. And if you're passive on a regular basis, your body will adapt to being passive. That passivity does a variety of things. It changes the way your body responds to insulin for one reason, because insulin receptors live on the liver and they live on skeletal muscle. As we get older, we lose muscle. If you lose muscle, you lose insulin receptors. And so whatever insulin is circulating in your body, you don't respond to. That is the definition of type 2 diabetes mellitus, is lack of a response to the insulin that is available. And so for Tamika, absolutely understanding that, you just start the process of understanding that what you really want is you want to move more and you want to eat better foods. Ingredient number one is to recognize that sugar is poison. You never want to eat anything that has sugar added to it. Carbohydrates that are simple and easy to absorb, like white bread, are treated like sugar in your body because they're converted so rapidly from that simple carbohydrate into sugar. Eating complex carbohydrates like whole grains, sprouted grains, etc., that can be a much more valuable for you for your metabolism in general, but also for keeping your blood sugar under control, because there won't be a spike of blood sugar when you consume something like a teaspoon of sugar, or a Coke, which has 12 teaspoons of sugar in a bottle. When you drink that, the insulin response is massive. You have this huge spike of insulin, which drives weight gain, drives the hunger response, but your body doesn't respond to it properly when you're a diabetic. So eliminating sugar from your diet is probably the simplest and easiest thing that you can do as a diabetic. And if you're struggling with hypertension, Tamika, please make sure you have a blood pressure cuff at home and you're taking it on your own. And when your doctor checks your blood pressure, you're going to know my blood pressure is going to be under control today, because I already know I already took it, or it is not. And so you're not waiting to see the doctor to get your blood pressure checked to know whether or not the latest intervention has reduced your blood pressure to an acceptable level. But take steps. Go to Dr. Ronnie's blog. Let's let Dr. Ronnie come in here and really speak to Tamika about diet and the vegetarian lifestyle, because she can really contribute massively to this. Please.
Okay. Donnie, can you hear us?
Hello, Donnie, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. So,
I can. Would you like to comment on
for Tamika when it comes to her being a diabetic, hypertension, and what could be there?
your assistance there?
Absolutely. The Panoxol really helps for conditions. It helps many conditions. But at the top of the list, I always say that it's blood pressure, diabetes, increased weight. So many people are losing weight, and it's helping out, because you have to remember, with diabetes, it helps to convert your food to energy. It boosts your cellular level. It helps you with blood flow. It helps you to promote better oxygenation. All of these things, because of the vasodilation effect that it has, it drives down your blood pressure. That's why we're telling people, test your blood pressure while you're taking the Panoxol. You're going to see a tremendous difference. I am telling you this only because people are telling me this is what's happening to them. And also, you have to remember, the other thing is, when you feel good, you are doing better. It allows you to feel good, to get you off of that chair, and to get you walking and doing your live walks and talks with your cell phone. You don't have to sit at your desk or your computer anymore. Feel good about what you're doing and go to the next stage in your life, and that's a healthier stage.
A lot of great information here, and I think it goes to, and Tamika says, yes, I walk at least 2 miles a day. And I think that's the thing. Dr. Michaels, you said something I think is so interesting. And I know for myself, as someone who's a creature of habit by nature, that I love what you said about the body and how adaptable it is. I want to talk about that with you. I mean, how important is that for us to realize, especially out of what we've been dealing with the past 18 months. You know, a lot of people have been maybe spending more time at home. Maybe they were active before, you know, the pandemic, and this has kind of slowed them down. What would you say to them about the importance of adding that activity to their plans as they are trying to live healthier?
Well, the bottom line there is when it comes to adaptation, we always say you are what you eat. I'm sure everybody has heard that statement. I can also say it's just as important to recognize that you are what you do. The body is in a never ending state of adapting to what we're doing on a regular basis. And so keeping in mind that everyday life just involves sitting, it just does. Driving, work, most of us are sitting for a very large period of time. And if you're not sitting at work, odds are when you are driving back and forth to work, you're sitting. When you get home, you're going to be sitting again. Those hours add up rapidly. So think about 1 hour of exercise. Now, in the big picture of the 16 hours that most of us are awake, that 1 hour of exercise is really not a whole lot of time. And so recognizing that your body is going to be adapting to whatever the average of what you're doing on a 24-hour basis is, which means doing more of simply not sitting. That means getting up and walking. Like Tamika said, I walk at least 2 miles a day, which is fantastic. But what I would encourage Tamika to do is recognize that if you're walking 2 miles a day and that has become relatively easy for you, you need to either bump up the pace that you're walking 2 miles a day or take it up to 3 miles a day or add something else in. Weightlifting is one of the most potent tools that you can do for health in general. It's probably more valuable than aerobic exercise because of the muscle bulk and the muscle metabolism, what it does to our metabolic level in general. These are critically important things. And so, in all honesty, it really comes down to bumping up your average level of moving rather than sitting. The same thing applies to flexibility. You can't improve your flexibility by stretching once a week. You have to stretch on a regular basis, gently, in a way that you're not going to react to, that you're not going to grit your teeth or stress out about, but just putting tension through your structure so that they can grow and adapt. Because becoming more flexible is not a mechanical process, it's a physiological process. Your tissues remodel when you sit to be shorter. They remodel when you're training your flexibility to become longer. That's really how flexibility works. Our tissues don't actually stretch in any way other than the elastin in there can give you a little bit of a release momentarily, but it snaps right back to where it was until the tissues evolve and remodel because of what you're doing and your body's adapting to that tension.
That's a lot of great information. I'm so glad that you all could join us both on Amazon Live as well as our other platforms as we're giving you guys some news you can use with our guest today, Dr. Matthew Michaels, just heard from there, and also Dr. Ronnie, sharing with us, of course, also the benefits of this product, that being Panoxol Plus. We have it highlighted there in the carousel. If you guys have not been reading about it, hearing these conversations, definitely click on the bottle there. You'll notice there on Amazon, just click on it. You can read more information. But I love the fact that we're able to be able to give in these conversations some actionable information, let you know who's it great for, what it can do for you, but also, of course, realizing that each one of us are different. The things that I've been experiencing in my 2 weeks may not be what you experience, but being able to listen to your body, I think that's one of the big messages here too. And then, of course, as you're able to increase, if necessary, you can be able to do that as well. You also, you heard Dr. Michaels mention earlier about his book, Take Control of Your Back Pain. We're going to highlight it again in the carousel there on Amazon Live. You guys can also get it there on Amazon on this broadcast. And Dr. Ronnie's book, 21 Pounds in 21 Days. I'm going to highlight it there as well. It is available on Amazon Live as well. So you guys can take advantage of that. Dr. Michaels, really appreciate you spending this time with us today. How can our audience stay connected with you?
My pleasure, Cyrus. Thank you for asking. I'm not on Facebook at this time. I'm not on Twitter. I am on LinkedIn. You can find me at Matthew Michaels, MD. Follow me there, and we can communicate there.
All right. And Dr. Ronnie, what about you? How can our audience stay connected with you? Oh, I think we may have lost our audio with Dr. Ronnie. Sorry about that. Well, again, I appreciate Dr. Ronnie and Dr. Michaels being on with us today. I appreciate all of you for tuning in for this edition of News You Can Use here on Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, though, you all make it a great one, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Thank you, Cyrus.